who built his house on the sand, and the rain descended, the floods came, the winds blew, and beat on that house, and it fell. And Jesus does not stop there. He says, and great was its fall. I'm comfortably snuggled into my sleeping bag. Any Pathfinders out there? Comfortably snuggled into my sleeping bag. My tent is secure. The rain covering has been put on. We put the tarps underneath. I was a good Pathfinder. I knew what to do. I'm comfortable in my sleeping bag. I'm comfortable in my tent. But there's a whisper. 30,000 campers in the mountains of Colorado. There's a whisper that a storm is coming. Now, if you've been camping before, there are a couple of things that you can guarantee on a camping trip. One, it's probably going to rain, and two, somebody's going to get sick. So I had slept in a tent through storms before. I was not afraid of a storm, and I had looked out over the horizon before I got into my tent. I didn't see anything coming. So as far as I was concerned, I was safe and sound. Snuggled into my sleeping bag, tent secure, rain covering on there. And I laid down that night saying to myself, you know what, the ground is particularly soft tonight. So I was not excited when my director said, get out of your tent. Get out of your tent and grab your sleeping bag and come here. The ground was soft. Get out of your sleeping bag and get out of your tent. I was warm. Get out of your sleeping bag. Get out of your tent. I was dry. Get out of your sleeping bag and get out of your tent and come here. He only said it once. Maybe your Pathfinder director was like mine. Ex-Marine, ex-police officer, used to be crazy until Jesus saved him. So he only spoke once, and I got out of my tent, I got out of my sleeping bag, and I came there. And he says, follow me, and I followed him. And I'm scratching my head because the tent is warm, and the ground is soft, and I'm not even wet yet, and I'm following him. And he does not even tell me where he's going. I was a good Pathfinder. I knew how to follow orders. And I follow him, and we're marching in the middle of the night. It's dark, and it's cold, and we get to a spot a couple of miles, it felt like, from our tent. And he says to me, lay down right there, and it's about 7 of us. Lay down right there. I don't see a storm. Lay down right there. It had not started to rain yet. Lay down right there. The spot where he told me to lay down was not soft. The spot where he told me to lay down was not comfortable. It was a concrete slab about 12 by 12. And to me, to my little 14, 15, however I was at the time, it felt just like a rock. I remember laying down and being irritated at my Pathfinder director. Irritated so much that I could barely sleep that night. And I woke up the next morning feeling irritated also. It's time to get up now, he says. And we walk back to our tent, and my eye sees the destruction that happened the night before. Because during the night, the rains came. And the ground got wet. And the winds blew and almost destroyed the whole campsite. I watched as groups and groups of people picked up their tents and sorted out fiberglass poles and tried to figure out where their food went. And I watched as people were soaking and crying and upset. But I was dry. I was safe. I did not have a care because I slept that last night on a rock. Jesus here is a master preacher. He's crafting his sermon beautifully, and he gets down to the end of his sermon. I'll take you back to the beginning. Jesus is standing around to teach his disciples. And he watches as he's about to teach his disciples, and beginning in Matthew chapter 5, and everybody gathers around. It's kind of like one of those moments, you know, like children's story. They say children's story is the one time in church where you got everybody's attention. The story is for the kids. The moral is for the kids. But everybody wants to hear. So caution to those of you who like to tell children's story. Make sure you're telling something worth listening to. Because your whole church is paying attention. Jesus is crafting his story, and he's preaching to his disciples. This is what it means to follow me.